Hey, what's up, guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun channel. Wired.com just published an article written by Kevin Kelly, a guy that I've been tracking for many years here. The headline AR, that's augmented reality, will spark the next big tech platform. Call it Mirror World. And it says here the mirror world doesn't yet fully exist, but it is coming. Of course, people talk about the Black Mirror series. Someday soon, every place and thing in the real world, every street, lamppost, building, and room will have its full-size digital twin in the mirror world. For now, only tiny patches of the mirror world are visible through AR headsets. Piece by piece, these virtual fragments are being stitched together to form a shared, persistent place that will parallel the real world. The author Jorge Luis Borges, or Jorge, I guess, Jorge Luis Borges imagined a map exactly the same size as the territory it represented. Quote, "In time," Borges wrote, "the cartographers' guilds struck a map of the empire whose size was that of the empire and which coincided point for point with it. We are now building such a one-to-one map of almost unimaginable scope. And this world will become the next great digital platform." Isn't that interesting? The article goes on here to give a couple examples of how this, different new mirror world is being accessed and used, and how it's developed things that we've tracked, like Pokemon Go. And if you want to go into some more obscure territory, into the world of cryptos and stuff, there's projects like Decentraland, which is more actually a virtual space, not a one-to-one mirror, but I think these are going to be little portals that people can enter into from the layered one-to-one mirror world. And also Russia, we're going to talk about on Canary Cry Radio, or Canary Cry News Talk, actually, how Russia is separating from the internet, and they're about to probably, and they don't mention it in any of the public outlets, but use platforms like Ethereum to build and write laws, their Russian laws into, and things of that nature. So these things are happening rapidly and in our face. And Kevin Kelly has some interesting things to consider here. He says, eventually, we will be able to search physical space as we might search a text. Quote, "Find me all the places where a park bench faces sunrise along a river." We will hyperlink objects into a network of the physical, just as the web hyperlinked words, producing marvelous benefits and new products. But he says that these examples are trivial and elementary, equivalent to our earliest lame guesses of what the internet would be just after it was born. The real value of this work will emerge from the trillion unexpected combinations of all these primitive elements. He goes on, the first big technology platform was the web, which digitized information, subjecting knowledge to the power of algorithms. It came to be dominated by Google. The second platform was social media, running primarily in mobile phones. It digitized people and subjected human behavior and relationships to the power of algorithms. And it is ruled by Facebook and WeChat. Interesting that he chose those two, because Facebook really is the Western version of WeChat, which is the Chinese version of basically the only communication system that they're using over there, purely monitored by the government. And it says we are now at the dawn of a third platform, which will digitize the rest of the world. On this platform, all things and places will be machine readable, subject to the power of algorithms. Whoever dominates this grand third platform will become among the wealthiest and most powerful people and companies in history, just as those who dominated the first two platforms have. Also, like its predecessors, this new platform will unleash the prosperity of thousands more companies in its ecosystem and a million new ideas. The problems that weren't possible before machines could read the world. And this is a very long article, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can definitely do that. I'll leave links in the description. But he concludes here, I imagine it will take at least a decade for the mirror world to develop enough to be used by millions and several decades to mature, but we are close enough now to the birth of this great work that we can predict its character in rough detail. Eventually, this melded world will be the size of our planet, or, whatever we're on here. It will be humanity's greatest achievement, creating new levels of wealth, new social problems, and uncountable opportunities for billions of people. There are no experts yet to make this world. You are not late. And let me just point out this phrase, the great work, used by Kevin Kelly regarding this technium, actually, this mirror world, he's talked about the technium being this living thing that probably exists as a result and lives in the mirror world. The great work, according to the FreemasonInformation.com website, the great work is above all things the creation of man by himself, that is to say, the fall and entire conquest which he effects of his faculties and his future. It is above all the perfect emancipation of his will. And it says later, in basic terms, the great work is the idea of completing the development of the soul. By completing it, I mean finding within ourselves a spark of the cosmic consciousness and nurturing it to a state of understanding the wider universe around us. Interesting that that's the esoteric understanding of the phrase, the great work, and it is the same phrase being used by Kevin Kelly, the technologist. But yeah, what are we building here? We're building the infrastructure for the image of the beast and the mark of the beast to be deployed. And that is precisely what's going to happen here. I mean, I get Kevin Kelly is positive about this, and he's been on the positive, optimistic side of things. And I certainly see the benefits that it will create because, again, the scriptures talk about a time of peace that will develop. So I certainly think that this will usher in that kind of worldwide peace. But the other thing that I wanted to mention here is this idea that we have this one-to-one mirror of the world. Now, if we do that, people talk about flat Earth. They always talk about, hey, why don't you talk about it? Because it doesn't matter what the shape of the world is because it's all being digitized anyway. And if we think about it in the truest form of the sense, creation itself, it all belongs to God, right? We're creating this counterfeit corporate deity. We're summoning this deity through technology, this artificial intelligence that will become sentient and self-aware. It is the beast. We are reviving or resurrecting, so to speak, this dragon that is talked about in the Bible in a tangible sense, in a tangible way that rules over our lives. And so I think it's very relevant here that we have to pay attention to these technologies and, of course, use them for good. I mean, there's countless examples in the Bible where God uses the enemy's tools and situations to bring about judgment, to bring about healing, to bring about all sorts of things, right? So I think it's important to keep in mind that we're not supposed to be hiding from this, but we have to be aware and alert about what this means, not just philosophically in this idea that, again, I'll dig into in the Age of Deceit 3, March 1st. That's when it's coming. Hopefully that's the target date. Articles like this completely confirm what I'm talking about in that film, which is basically that the idea of sin itself will become so transparent in the digitized world that it's going to affect the way we try, quote unquote, to eradicate it. And death being a prime example of it. We've talked about over and over again how through technology, people are going to seek immortality and are seeking immortality. Well, this is part of it. They want to build their own, quote unquote, Eden. But in the process of trying to create Eden 2.0, they are actually going to create Tower of Babel 2.0. If I can put it that way, I mean, I think it makes sense in just a general term here without digging into all the details. But this is really the shift that is occurring. And the technocracy stuff that I talked about in the last video with Patrick Wood, the clip there, and people, in the comments section saying, hey, it's been here this whole time and all this stuff. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. This Antichrist spirit has been at work since the beginning, right? But there are different names and different labels that people follow, that people jump on bandwagons with. And that was the point of this idea of technopopulism being potentially the next sort of move, a sort of sleight of hand of populism as people try to jump on this movement of, hey, we're taking back sovereignty and freedom in this country. Meanwhile, we're using all the tools, the technology, to make those things more, quote unquote, efficient and transparent. And certainly, again, it's going to create that. It's going to create more transparency and efficiency and all these things that we desire. Probably, as I always say, the way things should have been built with the technology of the internet and everything else, not totally exclusive and held so tightly by some of these corporations, but it was always going to be that way. And even in this transition into this new system, or this, I guess, upgrade into the mirror world, same thing's going to happen. It's controlled, it's operated, it's being fed to us through corporations as it merges more and more and more, and eventually will become one thing. And it's interesting also because before we see the ultimate merging of the world systems, or at least the four beasts, or the three beasts that become the fourth beast, do believe that it is part and part important to keep in mind that we are seeing the divisions also, the different types of emerging nation states, not just traditional states of nations like Russia or China or whatever, but how that looks or what that means in this new mirror world economy system that's going to be out there. And when we talk about that, I think when we look at Daniel 7, Revelation 13, it becomes absolutely relevant and helps us navigate with a little more clarity, maybe, what the prophets in the Bible were talking about. Why did Daniel feel so sick? He saw the system probably, and he was like, holy moly, right? This thing is going to completely take over everybody's lives. It's crazy. And here we are. We're already, I don't know. I'm going to say, hip deep or something. We're pretty far deep into the thing. So, again, the rollout is going to continue to happen. But, we got to always keep in mind, this is why I think the gospel is so crazy. It's like so relevant, so important, because all these kind of dark things and, terrible things and scary things happening. I saw one person in the comments in the last video talk about, how can you say not fear it? Of course we have to fear it. I think it's more of like hey, we need to revere God, have that reverence for God, because he's ultimately in control, and know that he is allowing this to take place. And for those who have understanding, they're going to see it for what it is, and more people are beginning to have that understanding. I think I don't feel so alone in this world, talking to you guys and having connections with different people and who have similar thoughts and ideas, and more people are coming to these conclusions. So it's not like I'm out there so crazy and on the fringes. It's becoming more relevant. More people are starting to get it, but also more people are starting to really bury their head in the sand. You know what I mean? Like it's not just their head anymore. It's like their shoulders and I don't know, more parts of their body are now buried in the sand, and this is going to continue to take place. And it's our job, really, if you want to get down to it, to spread the gospel and fulfill Matthew 24:14. What that looks like could potentially be to pull some people out of pull the people that have their head in the sand, get them out, shake them, and be like, hey, this is taking place. Let's go. All right. So I hope you guys get something out of this video. Thank you guys for your support. March 1st, a couple weeks here, we're going to have Age of Deceit 3 ready to go, hopefully. Patreon, t-shirts, all the things. Have an awesome day, guys. God bless.